This Fight Club was brought to you by. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Or good afternoon. What in the hell? I just took that edible like a couple of minutes ago, and it hasn't caught an effect yet. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the JB Show on the Fred Hampton Leftists. My name is James. I actually have a wonderful guest that I've been wanting to have on. One. Get it together, JB. I've been wanting to have for quite a while now. We have Rob Buechner, also known as Robert Durden from the Political Fight Club. Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. Like I told you guys earlier, I did not sleep very much at all last night. I was so excited for this show. Thank you very much for having me.
I just want to say hello to everybody on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Rockfin. Everybody in the chat, hello, how you doing? If you guys got something to eat, grab a snack, grab a drink, grab a bowl, light it up and smoke it. Whatever you need to do, go ahead and do that. I just want to say hello to everybody. Number one, you guys are brilliant. Number two, I love all y'all. So look, today was going to be is a very anticipated day because um, I feel like Rob, you and I are kind of cut from the same cloth, just from different ends of the cloth. You have more of a savage take than I do when it comes to certain things. Um, but they're still very deeply nuanced, and it's just like it's almost like you. It's like you know how when somebody says that's tough but fair.
Yeah, that's kind of me, and I don't really hold back. But again, I try to follow my own rules of debate and of having conversations. In that, I don't really go after anybody personally. But if you do something goofy on your show and you have a bad take, I'm gonna roast you.
Yeah, I got you. So, if anybody who's watching or who's in the chat is aware of, if you ever watched the movie Fight Club, it was a movie with Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. And one of the things was it was an interesting movie. It's kind of trippy, but it basically was you have certain rules of engagement for the fight and how were you supposed to conduct yourself. Um, if you could give us a better explanation of what uh, political fight club is and how did you come up with this concept, if you can give us that kind of synopsis.
Sure. Yeah. Political Fight Club is kind of like it's kind of like an ideology in a way. It is something I would like leftists who do YouTube to adopt, but also I would like a lot of other people to join Fight Club. The reason I keep it so raw and I just do it on an iPhone is I want to prove to people that you don't have to have a lot of money to have your voice heard. You can basically just do these takes in your basement. And the
Mhm.
concept is you want to be able to correct other people on the left when they have bad takes. And if we all decided to kind of get online, give our takes, and go after other people that have bad takes, not for every little thing, but if there's something that's really major, go after them. What we would have is a club or a network that is self-correcting in a way. And since
Mhm.
the subscribers, they get to decide which takes are the best via the likes and the dislikes and who they sub to and don't sub to. So this is basically like it's evolution. I'm trying to be a catalyst that allows us to find out who the people that are giving the best takes on the left are and weed out the ones that are doing poor takes. But beyond that, I also, as you guys know, I like to promote people that are doing good takes as well. And that further accelerates that process. I do my political power rankings sometimes, which is I kind of rank people or rank channels depending on the content that they're currently putting out. I've ranked you guys very high recently, #1 overall. I also have ranked people like Jimmy Dore, Jackson Hinkle. There's Sabby Sabs. She's been ranked before. She's wonderful. And that's based on not just what I'm seeing, but also in the numbers that I see. You guys have unbelievable like to dislike ratios. and you have an unbelievably high amount of views per subscriptions, which tells me that your fan base that follows you is very, very, they're addicted to your stuff. They really are picking up what you guys are putting down. So the idea of Fight Club is that we will not go off into the weeds. We're going to keep everything on topic. We're going to know our shit. These are all rules of Fight Club. You're going to keep your calm. You're not going to, ad hominem people. And if you can do that and get information out in a very entertaining way, and we all kind of talk to each other and communicate with each other behind the scenes, the network that we would have would spread information very quickly, self-correct, and self-promote. And that's the best way, I think, to not only get information out in an entertaining way, which people like, but also it beats the algorithm, as you guys know.
Yeah.
My diss tracks get 5 times the views that my normal just doing the news tracks do. And that's just because I think Americans, they like that kind of drama built into their news. They're kind of addicted to it. And mainstream media, I think, has kind of gotten them that way because, as we know now, those people, all they do is conjure up drama. They don't give you the news anymore.
Yeah.
So we're kind of addicted to it. And so I if I really, really want to boost myself or boost other people, I'll do a power rankings episode or a diss track. And then in between that, I just do the news. And if we all kind of do that, eventually all of us working together, even with the algorithm working against us, we will have more views than the TYTs and the David Doles and the Mike Figueiredos of the world. We will catch them eventually, but it's going to take us working together in a sort of like union. And that's what Political Fight Club is.
All right. Great. Thank you so much. You actually answered one of my questions that I was going to have about who dictates what, deems self-correction and what they should be self-corrected by. But you said that the viewers, the people who are largely on the left, they will, by a grassroots way, let us know, hey, was a bad take, or hey, this was a decent take. Sometimes there are some things that are divided and we have to be more nuanced in our arguments. But for the most part, yeah, that was great.
That's
And
exactly right.
I want to say hello to Sabby Sab. She's in the chat. FHL co-host, as well as has her own network, her own channel, Sabby Sabs. Also, I want to thank Danny for the super chat. Thank you so much. First rule of Political Fight Club: we do not talk about Political Fight Club. I think that's a little bit different this time, right?
Yeah, it's opposite. First rule of Fight Club is talk politics or talk about
Yeah.
Political Fight Club. Yep.
Yeah. I also think Counting Coup had a good take. It says, I thought this was a little gimmicky, but after watching many of them, I now like the concept for both entertainment and because it seems really effective. So um the thing is that it's kind of like we're not going to be like the Tucker Carlsons and Rachel Maddows of the world, where all they give you is they give you constant chocolate cake with nothing substantive in it. What we're going to do is we hide the vitamins in the cake, not
Yep.
necessarily giving you cake all the time. Now we're trying to take that cake away and substitute it for, here's some grapes, here's some apple, here's some pineapple, here's some papaya, here's some of this, some a little bit more healthy stuff, but it still tastes good. But we're giving you substance on top of it. Here's some strawberry, here's some raspberry. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
because the thing is that there's a difference between infotainment and then taking something that can be kind of juicy, but sandwiching it in between that actual substantive arguments. Like for instance, you can talk, about the uh oh my goodness, the Syria gas, quote
Yep.
unquote gas
Yeah, the
attack by the
OPCW.
OCP. Yeah, OPC. I was trying to think of the acronym, but the
Yep.
OPCW. You can talk about that. You can talk about how, yeah, the juiciness of what TYT is doing. But why are they doing this? It's because they're talking about the CIA talking points, which is actually covering up what the actual report from the OPCW is doing, which actually leads into the imperialism of the United States trying to take over countries like Syria. So you're taking that juiciness, but then squaring it with the actual substantive arguments of anti-capitalism and imperialism and anti-imperialism, so that people can get that meat, um, that actual uh, you know, I can't even come up with the right words, but you get what I mean, right?
I understand. Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And I disagree with people that call us like the TMZification of the left. Jordan Sheridan says that a lot, and
Yeah.
respect Jordan. I think he does great on the ground reporting. But the one criticism I've always had of him is like, listen, if you have the best reporting on the planet, but you go and deliver it to people in a very dry way, which he tends to do,
Hmm.
you're never going to break the algorithm. So you have to do both. And just because you happen to be entertaining does not mean that you're not giving people good information. And in fact, the numbers seem to show that if you can do both at the same time, you become very popular. Jimmy Dore, Russell Brand, Ron Placone. A lot of these guys are first and foremost. Lee Camp does this well too. They're very much like comedians slash writers who also do the news, and they give it to you in a straight and understandable way that's also entertaining, and so they can break the algorithm. For instance. And let me just talk about a few things going to what you're talking about, where you hide the fruit inside the cake. For the Syria OPCW cover up, when I covered that, I would also make fun of TYT for their bad takes on that. But the meat of my vids was actually explaining to people what that cover up was. Right. Same thing with like when I went after Ken Klippenstein recently. Right. I roasted the living shit out of him. What I was really talking about was ivermectin and alternative treatments to the really expensive stuff like Regeneron that Big Pharma is inevitably going to push on everybody this winter when the outbreak gets worse. So when I roast somebody like Ken Klippenstein and I talk about vaccines and COVID, really I'm teaching people about those things in a way where they can also laugh along the way.
Hmm.
So, and that's, it's great. I think it's a good way to get people to actually watch your stuff because, I mean, who doesn't like a good roast? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
everybody, if they know that, if you're going to get Lee Camp going after somebody, or even Richie Medhurst went after TYT back in the day for this and just smoked them. That was one of the videos that went super viral for him. People like
Hmm.
that stuff, but it can't
Yeah.
just be roasting people. It has to be, here's the story and how can I write jokes around it and make it entertaining and palatable for my audience.
Roasted vegetables. Sorry.
Yeah, right, exactly. And you're right. That's exactly how we would. It is what you said earlier is very astute. What we do that's different than a lot of other channels is we listen to our subscribers. And no one has to dictate in Political Fight Club who's right and who's wrong. The viewers will do that for us. You just have to look at the like to dislike ratio and the views to subscriber ratio to know who's putting down stuff that the viewers are picking up. And if you get ratioed, like the Vanguard did when they went against ivermectin and called it horse paste about a week ago, and I roasted them for that, they had like a 0.5 like to dislike ratio on the video, and my video taking them down had like 1,000 views, something like that, and the ratio was like 250-5. So it's pretty obvious where the left stands on that, and they will ratio the Vanguard when they're off, but they'll also boost them when they have a good take. So all you have to do is really just listen to your people. That's what Political Fight Club is as an idea. Is it's a network by real people for real people.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
they will follow us and let us know when we have bad takes. And if we listen to them, that's like, it's almost like Marxism spread out in a network that is news and techie. And I think it's a great way to do. You guys do this wonderfully already, which is why I rank you guys so high. Is that you guys already got this paradigm figured out? I just think you're ahead of the curve. And quite frankly, the Fred Hampton leftist is like, to me, they're like that franchise player. They're like that LeBron or that Steph Curry that you can really build the franchise around in the future because you guys get it. You have tons of different perspectives and you have no qualms going after other people if they have a bad take, and the viewers love it. They're eating your stuff up.
Thank you. Um, I think the thing that we try to do is we listen to the people who watch us. I mean, pretty much that's what you have to do. Um, and when you know you touch on certain subjects that you're very knowledgeable about. Everybody, by the way, um, you know, Rob here is also a doctor. He's medically trained, so people can come after you about certain things, but whatever. Um, but when we give nuanced takes about our positions on certain things. I mean, of course, some people aren't going to necessarily agree, and that's fine. But as long as we have uh, a discourse, a dialogue that is good faith, and we can at least even come to some things we don't agree. Most of the time on the left, if you're on the left, we agree with pretty much 85 to 90% of everything for the most part. There may be some different things that we don't necessarily agree on, and that's fine. But as long as we can, come to the objective facts and objective conclusion on certain things, then yeah. As long as we're not constantly basing what we know or what we think we know on um, lies, misinterpretation of facts, or a misconstruction. I don't even know if that's a word. Misconstruction of events. Then we can pretty much come to a consensus for the most part. It's just some of us have more education in certain areas than the others. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
but yeah,
and yeah, you're absolutely right. And the people that do not kind of follow the rules that we all kind of agree are appropriate for political debate, they would not be part of Political Fight Club. And in fact, they do get ostracized by most of the people that watch our stuff. You can see this happening already with TYT. They're being largely rejected because they don't have good faith arguments. Everything is working backwards from a conclusion, and that is called confirmation bias. The
hmm,
confirmation that they have is squad good, work your way backwards, and craft your defense based on that conclusion. Whereas people that are giving you good faith arguments on the left are like, no politician should be idolized and none of them are above reproach. So we should attack them all based on what they do on a day-to-day basis. But that doesn't mean that you just go looking for fights. And that I don't do that either. And I will give credit. I've even given credit to Joe Biden a couple of times tacitly for small things. And so it's not about going out there with some sort of confirmation that Joe Biden sucks in every single way, even though he does suck in 99% of ways. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt and then work forwards from whatever they happen to be doing on any given day. So,
yeah,
and the reason that I've been going after the squad is because they really haven't done anything good. Like, I don't know how these people, they will wrap themselves into pretzels rhetorically to defend the squad. And I think a lot of that has to do with they've all more or less kind of sold out, moved more corporate. But also the thing is that they're okay with the strategy of the squad, which is like, give us 30 years and let us get all these committee seats, and we'll just trust the squad that in year 2050 they're going to do what we want. For all of us poor people out there, that is not a good timeline, and it's also a
yeah,
bad strat. We're not.
yeah,
We're much more urgent than that, and we must
yeah,
be much more urgent than that. So when I go after those people, it's like, I'd love to give these politicians the benefit of the doubt, but they haven't given me any reason to. And even if they were fighting, it
hmm,
doesn't seem to me like your strategy is going to be prudent. It's not going to be quick. And we need something quick. We need something that's going to fix the eviction moratorium permanently. We need Medicare for all. We need to have Joe Biden via executive order forgive student loan debt and legalize marijuana. And of course, expunge the records of all nonviolent drug offenders that are in prison because of marijuana. And they could easily get that stuff done. The squad, they can vote as a block and completely train wreck everything that Joe Biden wants to do if they want to, but I haven't seen them do that once. I do see them, however, tweeting like they care and basically putting together fake protests in the middle of the night before the eviction moratorium ends. And they didn't even tweet to promote it. I mean, if you have the squad out there, like I think it was Cori Bush and AOC were out there for a while, they have like 14 million Twitter followers between them. If you go out and throw a protest in the middle of the night with 14 million Twitter followers and only about 50 people show up, the problem is your effort. You didn't do anything to promote it, so that's the illusion of a protest. It was manufacturing consent for a shitty means tested moratorium, and the Democratic Party manufactured consent for it. And hook, line, and sinker, people like Kyle Kalinske and TYT and David Dole are like, oh, look at how heroic the squad are. They were out there for a couple of days and they got the eviction moratorium extended, even though FYI, the Supreme Court is going to shoot it down, and it was a shitty moratorium to begin with. So it's not a victory. It was just theater. And so I haven't seen them actually do anything worthwhile, which is why I'm critical of them. But if they actually did something, if they actually got a real eviction moratorium that was permanent and non-targeted, I would absolutely give them tons of credit on my show.
You said it better than I could. You did. You.
We have to hold these politicians to account, man. And it makes me wonder, had this split and the kind of feud between Jimmy Dore and TYT not happened, and some of these other newer channels on the real left actually come into existence over the past year and a half, it's scary to think that most of us would be talking the way that TYT and Kyle Kalinske are right now, which is just praising the squad. Thank goodness there were some people out there to stand in the way of that, because they're really not doing anything, and we need more people to get on and get online and hold these politicians and other YouTubers who are putting out bad content to account. Otherwise, we're never going to have the correct rhetoric.
Yeah. Sabby Sab says they defend the squad because they want access to Congress, or they have a relationship, or they're there have a relationship with them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's ultimately about access. Uh, you know,
Yep. And a lot of
one.
these channels, they built their channels on that bias that the squad is going to go in there and change things. A lot of these squad members, before they were in Congress, went on these shows for notoriety. So they hitched their wagon, these channels hitched their wagon onto the squad is going to be the savior of everybody thing. And now
Yeah.
that they're failing, what they should do is just say, sorry, they are kind of corrupt. They got co-opted by the system, are bad. Let's change our strategy. But they're not. They're doubling down on that idea that the squad is still the saviors, but everyone else can see the writing on the wall. These channels, their entire existence is predicated on the squad because it was built largely on promoting the squad.
Yeah. You know what? And look, I'm gonna say this. Um, a lot of this is a lot of what we see, and I sound like a broken record, but a lot of what we see that happens within electoral politics is based on, optics. It's the facade of showing you that they're actually doing something without actually doing something. Um, I wrote something down, and this actually goes hand in hand with what you were saying. And look, if you have a favorite politician and you are willing to enable them, if you have a favorite politician or politicians, you are enabling them. If you have a favorite politician or politicians, you are enabling them. So we need to stop enabling bad behavior. Now, what is bad behavior? Bad behavior is whenever the politician doesn't act in the interest of the will of the people. That's bad behavior. So every single time they want to do something, you're like, oh, if you have to make excuses for them, then you're enabling them. Now, a lot of people will say, well, they have opposition, blah, blah, blah. Look, I want you to go back a few years. Think about the Tea Party. The Tea Party was more loyal to their base than any of the Justice Democrats are to their base. Think about that. The Tea Party was more loyal to their base than the Justice Dems were to theirs. All right. The Tea Party literally voted to repeal Obamacare over 60 times as a campaign promise. How many times have the Justice Dems or any of the progressives in Congress tried to force a vote on Medicare for all, or a $15 minimum wage, or a Green New Deal? Where are they? on these? What are the $2,000 survival checks that we were supposed to get on a monthly basis? So people can talk about, you know, oh, we can't, critique them like that because, they're fighting for us. It's like, are they really fighting for us? Are they? Because, like I said in my tweet earlier today, actions speak louder than words. Show me your actions. And even Nina Turner said this, you will know the tree by the fruit that it bears. You will know the tree by the fruit that it bears. Look, I read the Bible. I used to preach door to door for almost 20 years, so I know a little bit. And so the thing is that if they're bearing bad fruit, then guess what that means? I'm just saying. Am I wrong in this?
I think you're exactly right. I think they're not fighters, and I also think you're correct in that no politician should ever be idolized or celebritized the way that we
No.
do in America. I like to tell people that I was a huge Bernie fan, but and I would promote him like crazy. I voted for him twice. Meaning in the primaries, I voted Jill Stein in 2016. But as soon as Bernie, had he become president, as soon as he became president, I would have been dropping diss tracks on him every single day because, and I'd be giving him props for when he did good things. But you're supposed to be critical of the people in power, and we have this weird like fetishization of our politicians in this country, and it's being I think promoted in a large way by the system. A capitalist system will always try to defend itself. And what it's doing right now, I think you saw my tweet about this, is that capitalism is kind of co-opting the squad by turning them into celebrities so that they can get a whole bunch of these stands on the left to worship them for doing nothing, like that dress that she wore to the gala the other night. That's a whole lot of media attention and getting props from people like Kyle Kalinske and them for doing nothing, really. It's I like that she went out there and wore something that I guess doesn't get enough PR, but I think it really does. I mean, how many people do you need to convince that we need to tax the rich? It's like an 80% issue in this country. What I would like to have seen from AOC is don't go into the gala. You call yourself a democratic socialist, go protest with the people outside the gala and promote it with your Twitter account. You
Yo,
can
you know
even
what?
wear the dress out there,
You know what?
whatever you
You know
want
what
to
would
do,
have been,
but like you're in the wrong spot.
would have been even cooler. She was out there protesting with everybody. She had on a jacket on the back said defund the police. That would have threw them for a fucking loop. Oh my
Or
god.
fuck the
They
police.
would have yeah, they would have lost their minds. And the thing is that it's not necessarily dramatization. I saw somebody in chat talk about, we need to talk about solutions. Um and we'll get to that. But the thing is that one of the things that people need to realize is that, and people are still coming to our channel here on Hampton Leftists and discovering what really is going on. And we got to tell them what's really going on. And then we also tell them what the solutions are in order to do that. And we definitely do have those. But one of the things that people need to realize is that everybody knows the Republicans are shit. They know. It's like why are we even, that's not even something up for debate. Like it's just like the sky is blue. Yeah, we all agree the sky is blue. But when it comes to somebody or a group of people that are constantly gaslighting you and telling you that they're on your side and then stabbing you in the back, well, somebody needs to come up and say, "Hey, they're not the real deal. They're just like the other people who we know that are shit. It's just that they're basically giving you a pile of shit, putting sprinkles on top of it, and telling you it's chocolate ice cream." Like, no,
Yep.
absolutely not. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Republicans are wolves. Democrats are wolves in sheep's clothing. Which one do you prefer? If it comes down to this country being dragged towards fascism, there are two ways we can go about it. If you have Trump as president or a Republican, they're buffoonish, they're clownish, but they're not like clever enough to hide their what they really believe. So at least when you're talking to a Republican, they're like, I'm full of shit, but at least I'm honest about it. The Democrats, they want to sneak fascism through the back door and they pretend like they're your friends. So it's tougher but absolutely necessary to go after the Democratic Party because they're still pushing us the same direction as the Republicans are, but they have the wherewithal to like hide some of their draconian ideas. And so the only real difference between most of these like neoliberal shit zippers and Republicans are that they kind of like hide some of their social biases and their social heinous ideas in the closet where they're like, oh, well, you know what? We're still going to keep going with the military industrial complex. We're still going to keep the prison industrial complex intact. We're not going to tax the wealthy a lot. We're not going to actually move towards a Green New Deal or saving the planet. But what we will tell you is that we're for gay marriage and we're like marginally on the side of like, women's rights. And, even Joe Biden will tell you, well, we might eventually legalize marijuana, but not right now. He could do it via executive order, but like the Democrats and the Republicans on almost every single issue that actually matters that isn't culture related, they're the same. But I prefer the Republicans because at least the Republicans will be like, I'm full of shit. Here's my shitty ideas. And how do you like it? And at least then you're like, okay, well, we're having a conversation now. We at least know where we stand. Whereas the Democrats, they believe a lot of the same things the Republicans do, but they co-opt progressive language, which is so much more difficult to fight against. But that's why I go after them and try to decipher all of their bullshit for my audience as best I can.
Yeah. I want to give some attention to this person. Jay Scott, he says, I guess he's, I don't know if that's in a mocking tone to us or not. He says, we are against electoral politics, but also vote third party. You know what? Did you know that you can actually hold those both positions?
Yes,
I
you
didn't.
can.
I believe,
Leninists believe that.
yeah, I actually think it's an 80-20 issue. 80% direct action, 20%, vote third party. Yeah, I can do that.
Yep, and the play has to be long term. And here's how it goes: Leninists believe in the vanguard party. They
Hmm.
believe that the only way to destroy the like a duopoly or an oppressive government is by getting a third party that runs, but with a huge groundswell of like unions and poor people behind it to ram that third party to destroy the other two parties in our case. So in fact, I agree with you. I think it's more like 99% mutual aid and doing actual on the ground stuff, direct action, and 1%. But the thing is, I don't believe that we're at the point yet where we have to abandon electoral politics entirely. I am at the point where we have to abandon the duopoly entirely. So my play was always like, let's do the best to develop a third party, either the Green Party, and to build that up, or maybe Movement for a People's Party. I don't really care. But if we get a groundswell of people to get behind that third party and then run it like blockers for a running back, then we could maybe score a touchdown that way. But you can absolutely be like against electoral politics
Yeah.
for the most part and still be behind something like a vanguard play. But
Hmm.
I am completely done with the Democratic and the Republican Party. And here's the thing: if that play or doesn't work, like let's say that we can't get a third party to ever get on the ballots, they just keep cheating us, then yeah, you have to abandon electoral politics entirely. And unfortunately, that would mean the only way that we're going to get what we want is like violent revolution. And I'm not quite there yet. We'll just see how badly they screw us for the next couple of years, couple of more election cycles. If we really can't get a third party with any traction, people are going to lose heart. They're going to get very angry, and things are going to continue to deteriorate in this country. And that's when the pitchforks start to come out. So you can
Yeah.
you can believe both.
Yeah. I unfortunately I think we're going to the latter where it's going to be just is going to have to take feet in the streets and pitchforks and torches at the door. I honestly think that's
Yeah,
we're going to head to that direction. A lot of us don't want it to get to that point, but let's be real. You're a very honest person. You and I both know it's like, yeah, we're getting our torches ready. We don't want to have to get our torches ready, but we're going to have to get the torches ready. You know what I mean? kind of like that.
Yeah, and I'm a pacifist, but I absolutely like it would be like the last ditch effort on our part. And you take everything from people, you no longer have any power over them, and you make them very angry. And that's when the revolution starts to get violent, is if you take away all their other options. If we can't run through the Democratic Party without you guys cheating us, I mean, Bernie was obviously cheated twice. You're not going to let us have our champion within the Democratic Party. And then if you also quash our ability to have any type of third party, which would mean, us getting third party on the ballots, but also ranked choice voting would help tremendously in allowing a third party, which they're third party to gain traction, but they're never going to allow that. If you won't let us get into the game, if you just destroy every chance that we have, the people are going to fight back. If you're going to show us that electoral politics is futile, then we will have to lash out. That's just natural.
Yeah. It's basically like, if you're not going to let us sit at the table, then we're just going to flip the table over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Daniel, thanks for the super chat. We need to elect nonpartisan candidates that will actually represent the people. I love to discuss our political future with you. You know what? The thing is that we're trying. And the thing is that we're getting to the point where that's not going to be our main focus. It's going to be a small focus, but it's not going to be. It's going to be in somewhat of a focus, but it's not going to be the primary focus. Primary focus is going to have to be, mutual aid, direct action, getting, trying to get a general strike done. Because the thing is that we've already looked at people try. We've already tried the whole not taking corporate money route. We tried the Justice Democrats route. That that example has, that experiment, I should say, has been shown. And as you said in your show a couple days ago, that experiment ran its course, and we already see the results of it.
Yeah, and as Chris Hedges used to, or does say, is we need to stop worrying so much about getting people in there that we consider to be good Congress people, and spend more time scaring the shit out of the Congress people that are already there. And so what he means by that is we need to protest more and put much more pressure on the people there. Now, like, Joe Manchin is the one holding everything up in the Senate right now, holding up the infrastructure bill. He wants it to be $1 trillion instead of $3.5 trillion. And he and Bernie are kind of arm wrestling over that. And Joe Manchin's going to win because he's stronger than Bernie. But here's the thing. Joe Manchin, if we were to surround his house with a protest of 50,000 people and just stay there until he gives us what we want in terms of environmental stuff, climate change legislation, a $15 wage, and say, listen, get out of the way. You're going to vote party lines because you allegedly are a Democrat. And if you don't, we're just going to have this mob outside your house until you do. Eventually, you would get him on board with a lot of these things. So the play, I think, has to be that. And I think Chris Hedges is correct there. I think just running at people who we perceive to be good and uncorruptible, it doesn't work, because they will co-opt anybody. The Democratic Party will co-opt everybody that they bring in via money or fame or whatever gets you off. They will use that as a tool to co-opt you. As Shama Sawant so eloquently says, if you're a progressive, the road through the Democratic Party leads to a graveyard. So I think the protesting and hitting the streets with direct action needs to be the main thing. And we should be trying to scare the living shit out of our politicians. That's how we get things done.
Yeah. And look what Savvy Sav said. She said other countries would not put up with this.
Yeah, France. One thing in they shot a bunch of elephant shit onto Macron's house. It's like, dude, they'll fuck you up. If you don't do what they want, you're gonna wake up with a horse's head in your bed, man. The French don't fuck around, and they have wonderful paid time off. They have a very high minimum wage, and that's the way we should be. We should be at the drop of a hat. If they do anything we don't like when they let the squad deliberately let the $15 minimum wage die, and when Joe Biden allowed the parliamentarian to shoot that down, we should have run on the Capitol. That's what we should have done. That's what they would do in other countries. But it's weird. Americans are they're kind of hyper aggressive in their rhetoric, but they're really, really lazy when it comes to hitting the streets and utilizing their anger for something good. They'd rather just do nothing and yell online, which is why I love you guys, by the way, is that I think that you, and to some extent other people like Jackson Hinkle and even the Vanguard and Sabby Sabs, all of those people, they're part activist and part YouTuber. And that is the perfect activist in my mind. All of the revolutionaries that we've had in the past, like you think about like MLK, Malcolm X, they were not just activists, they were also extremely, like they were good orators. They were good at giving speeches that inspired people. So they not only had the stuff that they were walking the walk, but they went and talked the talk and got their word out there. And that is the perfect fusion, in my opinion, and the future of activism, is that if you guys can have this show, promote the stuff that you're doing, do the news, but also hit the streets and help promote stuff, that's better than anything previous generations of YouTubers have done. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to use our platforms to organize. We have been very disorganized on the left, and we can use these networks and these coalitions that we're building right now on our channels to help organize our subs and our people, but also just, help organize any type of direct action.
I'm going to say something that a lot of people, I'm gonna say this with as much nuance as I possibly can, but of course people are gonna take me out of context and they're gonna say whatever. But just record this from the beginning so that people can have proper context. But I'm gonna say this: the people who did what they did on January 6th, they misappropriated the power that they had. If it was those of us on the left and we were the ones coming in on January 6th, first of all, what we would have done is we would have sat our asses down on the floor inside the Capitol and said, we will not move until, and you have a list of demands, and these demands would be like Medicare for all, cutting the budget of the Pentagon, taking some of those funds and giving everybody $2,000 checks, all these different things, and we would have sat there and not moved. And we would have sent somebody that's very peaceful to talk to people in Congress, as well as invited the media to come and talk to us. Hey, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all y'all, ABC, New York Times, Washington Post, come talk to us. And then ask us why we're here, while we're sitting our ass in the tundra and in the chambers, and why we aren't moving. And then
it's like the end of V for Vendetta, man.
Yeah, and they're like, well, are you guys going to try to do something violent? No, we don't want to hurt nobody. We just don't want people to die anymore. We're done with death. We're sick and tired of death. We're not going to cause it, but we're also going to make sure that you guys don't continue to allow it to happen. And that's something that should have been done. But the thing is that a lot of these MAGA people, they were so stuck on, they were sycophants for Trump. Trump, he should have won, blah, blah, blah. Man, sit the fuck down. You guys can't even protest right. They suck at protesting.
That was I don't think that was as much a protest as it was just a liquor-fueled Trumpist riot. And Glenn Greenwald tends to agree with you, and I agree with Glenn. I don't think that was a coup attempt. Acting like that was a coup attempt is like acting like, if you found your dog in your car, that your dog was trying to steal your car. No, they don't have the capability mentally. They don't know what they're doing. It wasn't an actual coup attempt. What that was is a bunch of angry right-wingers who had too much to drink went on a, hillbilly parade that they ran through the Capitol. That's what it was. But I understand and absolutely agree with you. I think that it would be great if we could get tens of thousands of people out there peacefully protesting and just surround the Capitol. Yeah. Like I said, V for Vendetta. We're going to go out there and we're going to show you guys that we can flex our muscles with our solidarity. And here's the list of demands that we have. And I would just make it easy on them. I've always tried to, as far as the demands I would give to Joe Biden if I were face to face with him, I want things that do not have to go through Congress and therefore have no excuses as to why they can't be done. Those things are Medicare for all via the Social Security Act, 1881 Alpha. That's part of Obamacare. You can give Medicare for all to everybody during a pandemic if you call it a national crisis, which it is. You can do that unilaterally. You can forgive student loan debt from the Higher Education Act of 1965, Section 432A. That is executive order. He could do that immediately. Doesn't have to go through Congress. He could pardon all of the whistleblowers unilaterally. Daniel Hale, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. All of them could be immediately pardoned and have their charges dropped against them. That would be something that we can do. And legalizing marijuana and expunging the records of everybody that is in jail for marijuana-related offenses, that can be done unilaterally as well. And I'm sure there's more than that, but that's the main four that I always come up with, because there's no excuse as to why you can't do those things. They can be done by the president himself. So I just want to make it easy on them, and I would just put those demands out there. And I would also, if I were talking to Joe, I'd be like, listen, here's the deal. You're also going to get Joe Manchin in line so that we can get the PRO Act and the $15 minimum wage and the infrastructure bill. There is going to be no more parliamentarian bullshit. You're going to get her in line or fire her, and you're going to get Sinema and Manchin to vote for those things. And we will have the PRO Act and the $15 minimum wage in the upcoming infrastructure bill. That's non-negotiable. And that's what I would do, and we can do that. It's just a matter of getting people united and inspired enough to hit the streets in large numbers, like they did with the Black Lives Matter protests last year. But unfortunately, a lot of people are back to brunch right now. That's something that happens when Democrats take office, is that Trump was so horrible and so obviously horrible to everybody that he was actually a unifying force in that a lot of people hated him so much they would hit the streets much easier than when a Democrat's in office. And now so many people are acting like things have changed, so therefore there's no reason to go out and, do these protests because Joe Biden's in office, when the rest of us, like you and me, we see, no, there's just as much, if not more, reason to be out protesting right now. But the Democrats have a way of lulling everybody back to sleep. Everybody goes back to brunch when Trump's not in office. So there is no unifying force. I know, it's ridiculous. So and it's funny, they hate Joe Biden so much, but Joe Biden is ultra right wing. Like he's not Trump, but he's getting all the same damn things done that Trump was doing for the most part. I mean, he's tax breaks for the wealthy. He's increasing the police budget by a ton. The Squad played their role in that as well, increasing the police budget of the Capitol Police to, what was it, $2 billion? They have their own SS right now for the Capitol. It's ridiculous. So I mean, you're right. They're all more or less two sides of the same coin. They just kind of have different PR teams. Like the Democrats have a better PR team, so therefore they don't come off as quite so imperialist or quite so crazy fascist. But the fact of the matter is that on paper they're getting pretty much the same things done.
Yeah. Thank you, Danny, for the super chat. He says, how can the people enact term limits on Congress? Ultimately, I think this is it's gonna take, like, we can't even focus on that right now.
They're never gonna. They would have to vote for their own term limits. It's like when people tell me that we need to get Citizens United overturned so that we can't put money in politics anymore. Yeah, you're not going to get a whole bunch of corrupt politicians who are making a ton of money off of these donations that they get to overturn the one thing that is padding their pockets. You're never going to get it. It's like the term limits thing. You'd have to have a bunch of these people who don't want term limits to impose term limits on themselves. They're never going to do that.
Yeah, hang on, Kevin. Look, so here's the thing. You're getting eyeballs on people. And so ultimately, this isn't necessarily to, quote unquote, negotiate right then and there. It's to get more people to watch and get activated so that when the politicians go home, did I say more? So the super chat from Daniel, thank you so much. It says a grassroots nonpartisan candidate will use their base to call strikes and rallies. The Squad will not. And we need electoral and activism together. Love y'all. Yeah. I agree.
That's about right. Yeah. If you were going to, you may have seen this, JB, on my show. I do have a play that I think is a low chance of actually working. But if you insist on running through the Democratic Party, you have to run a kamikaze campaign, which is what I've said is you have to do two things. You have to impose your own term limits.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to also say, here's the list of things I'm going to get done for you by this time. The things that I just listed to you would be my list. And I'd be like, listen,
Okay.
here's the deal. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to force these things to be done. And if I
Mm-hmm.
don't get these things done by the date set forward, I will resign myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only way I think that you might get some people to trust that candidate running through the Democratic Party again, and just be like, be honest with the people, be like, I'm going in there to make as many enemies as possible. I'm going to make life hell for everybody. I am going to do the Tea Party tactics that the squad is not
Yeah.
going to do. And I'm going to go in there and attack the squad too. If they don't join me, I'm going to
Of
destroy
course.
everybody. And what I will do is, if I am not capable of getting the things that you guys are putting me in here to get, I will leave office. And if
Mm-hmm.
you ran on that, you might get some people to actually believe you. But the thing is, I have such a hard time believing these people. I would just be like, you know what? You might still just be lying to get my money and to get my vote. I donated an inordinate amount of money to almost every one of the squad members. There's never been money more wasted in my entire life than donating to the squad with the results that we're getting. I mean,
Yeah.
the return on investment has been zero.
I was just thinking about that. Come from the same cloth, just on two different ends of the
Yep.
sheet.
Yeah, and I'm not giving any more money to the Justice Democrats.
No.
If I were the Justice Democrats, I would change the vetting process and run kamikaze campaigns for people that have come from very, very poor, impoverished backgrounds that hate the establishment so much that they don't have any intention of going in there and being nice with anybody. Their intention is to go in there and be as mean as possible and to use whatever leverage they have the entire time they're there. And you might actually get some people to vote for that. But again, the Democratic Party is very adept at co-opting people. AOC sounded like a firebrand when she was running. Nina Turner 2 years ago would be ashamed of the Nina Turner nowadays, rhetorically. I thought Nina was absolutely uncorruptible. And like I said in a previous video, we've kind of run the Nina experiment now, where like I considered her to be like the pinnacle Justice Democrat. If anyone was going to go in there and fix things and make the squad vote as a block, it was going to be Nina. But now, I mean, she lost her election, which she ran a very, very poor campaign where she cozied up to the squad and the establishment, which I thought was ridiculous. She hired people like Jeff Weaver, and her speechwriter used to work for Amy Klobuchar. So she ran a poor campaign and she lost. But also, now she's gone to TYT. So now we understand that nobody is beyond getting co-opted by either money or notoriety or what have you. So that's why I'm 99% for direct action, mutual aid, and just a little bit of electoral politics in terms of running candidates, third party and Democratic Party.
Yeah. In that was a story um that really like some people were shocked, and then you had a small group that were going, "Why were you guys shocked?" It was just like she talked a good game. That was that was why some of us were shocked. We learned our lesson. We learned, but it still kind of hurts. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like I'll put it like this. Um. Okay, so everybody knows that I go to dialysis 3 times a week, right? I had to get stuck with two 15 gauge needles, 1 inch long needles in my arm for my dialysis access every single time. And I know tomorrow I go in and I'm gonna get 2 needles put in my arm, right? Um, Even though I know this now, and I know that it's going to happen, it still hurts every single time, even if I accepted the pain because it hurts, right? The thing is that a lot of us, I used to be a Nina stan. I'll be the first one to say it. I was a total Nina stan. Whenever Nina came on TV, I was cheering more for her than I did for Bernie because I love me some Nina, right? And it got to a point like after Bernie dropped out, and as soon as Nina said, I'm going to be running for Congress, I said, okay, let me take a step back, let me refocus, and let me just watch. And I didn't say anything about Nina the entire time that she was doing her campaign until the last few days. And then that's when the March for Medicare for All came up. And then that's when I started talking. And Look, the fact that Nina Turner is now joining TYT is sad, but the fact that I gave attention to it, TYT blocked me. They blocked me.
Of course.
So number one, that's a victory. I'll be royal. That's a victory.
It's a badge of
But
honor.
number two, they see us.
Yeah.
Hey Chank. Hey Anna. How you doing? Welcome to the Fred Hampton Leftists. So the thing is that um, you know, with this, like the fact that they actually blocked me for giving my critique, it says something about them, doesn't it, Rob?
Says a couple of things about them. It says that they understand the threat that is the Fred Hampton leftists and other lefty YouTube shows that are very quickly going to pass them in views, even though they have 1/100th the subscriber base. But of course, it also says, they know that they're very exploitable in these. They have bad takes. And so what they do is they just block everybody that critiques them on substance. And, critiquing Nina's campaign is different than going on and just saying, Nina sucks and I hate her. If you give reasons, it's not ad hominem. If you just make a video saying Nina sucks and call her a bunch of names, yeah, that's not cool. But if you say, listen, I don't like the fact that she didn't go to the Medicare for All march and did not promote it, even though she was reached out to multiple times by Savage Joy and other people. She was not critical of AOC and the squad's performance thus far. And for me, I need to see that. Why would I vote for you or give you money if you're not going to go in and at least try to correct the squad's poor performance so far? And of course, all of the hires, and I think it was Jeff Weaver and who I mentioned before, but you guys had, I think it was Nick was talking about how she spent a ton of money on like counselors or whatever, like people to help her with her campaign that were like super neoliberal. So she took a lot of our donation money and hired a bunch of people that don't make any sense for someone who purports to be running on like progressive socialist policies. So when I critique Nina, I made 5 videos about Nina. A couple of them were promoting her, I think 2 of them, and 3 of them were critiquing her for these things. You can't say that I'm just, like anti-squad for no reason. No, I listed my reasons, and in the end, I wanted Nina to win. I said that over and over. I wanted her to win, and I predicted that she would narrowly win. And that's what I wanted to see, because I wanted to see if she would go in there and sell out, become co-opted by the establishment the way the rest of the squad did. And I was let down when she didn't win, because I thought we weren't going to get to run the Nina experiment. But then she went to TYT, and that kind of gives me my answer as to whether or not she's co-optable. Because that she's not, very unlikely that she's going to go on TYT and kind of do what Kim Iverson does on The Hill, which is kind of like go on their show and show them up, really push back on their bullshit rhetoric. She could still do that. I don't think she's going to. I think she's signed a fat contract, and I don't think that Jeffrey Katzenberg is going to throw a bunch of money at somebody unless there's an agreement as to what you can and can't say. And I think that Nina is going to be nerfed like crazy on the show, and eventually they'll co-opt her to the point where she'll think that she's still a firebrand, but she's just spewing the same talking points that Anna and Jenk do all the time, which is really sad, because you're right. I was also a Nina stan, and on some of my first episodes on Political Fight Club were like, can we get Nina to win her election and then run in 2024? I have evolved. I no longer think that is viable, and I no longer stand for Nina at all.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Prince Johnson, black people are not political currency for the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. We have always been an emancipatory people. That's true. And the thing is that a lot of times, this is what the Democratic Party does, especially. They basically use us every 2 to 4 years when they need us. And then next thing you know, they throw us away. And then when we ask for our return on investment, they basically do what Hillary Clinton did to that young black lady uh, who was protesting at one of her, I don't know, fundraisers or whatever, and basically, told her to shut up. So That's basically what we as black people get. Um, but now I'm kind of glad this happened. And the reason why I'm saying I'm glad it happened is because now we're seeing it for what it really is. And in 2022 and in 2024, when some of these progressives are that are running within the Democratic Party or running for reelection, and they start to see that they're just not getting quite as much as they did back in 2016, 2018, 2020, they're going to finally realize, oh, we pissed off the actual left. And then you're going to start seeing a lot more mutual aids pop up. And then they're going to be like, what are these mutual aids? And then guess what? They're going to try to go to the mutual aids and they're going to try to come and help. Help. And then they're going to
Yeah,
try to co-opt the mutual aids. And they're going to
that's
be like, oh,
capitalism
yeah,
for you.
yeah. We're going to be like, oh, yeah, no. You guys stay over there and do whatever it is grifting you do. We're going to take care of the people while you guys just grift off the rest of the liberals and conservatives. And then that's what's going to happen. Mark my words. On September 19th, 2021, watch. Some of them are going to grift and try to come in on the mutual aid train. And
Yeah.
they're going to start saying mutual aid during your campaigns too. Watch. Watch. And I want y'all to download this recording right now. And if I'm wrong, I'll eat my words. I'll be happy to. But guess what? It will happen.
Yeah, their rhetoric is going to change drastically in 2022 because it's likely that the House and the Senate will both go Republican. When that's the case, the squad will be off their leash and allowed to return to the progressive rhetoric again, where they get aggressive because they can say whatever they want. They're running headfirst into a Republican brick wall. They will have their Republican scapegoat that will not let anything through. So I imagine they will get much more firebrandy in their rhetoric the instant they lose one of the parts of Congress. So I think you're right on there. Right on.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. I have the ability to bullshit. I'm gonna be real. I do, right? But if I do, it bothers my conscience like crazy. So I don't. But you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Okay? I used to sell furniture. Okay? So you can't sit here and tell me, "Oh, we're fighting for the people." Look, I got to see the receipts, baby. Come on now. You're going to sit here and tell me I fight for the people and wait, you have how many followers on Twitter? And you're not calling for a general strike because oh, right. You want to work behind the scenes. I see exactly what you're talking about. I see. So that's just code word for sit down, shut up, and stop, basically drifting on my grift. Right? Okay. So, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to make sure we do things for the people, even if we have to go outside the government to do it. If we have to feed people, if we have to house people, if we have to clothe people, if we have to go outside the government to do those things, to do what the government should be doing, then guess what? We're going to do it. Why? Because y'all ain't doing your jobs. And the thing is that guess what? We're not going to support you because if you're not doing your job, then what is there to support? What is there to support? There's no reason for us to do it. Why am I going to waste my money on an investment that's not going to return to me?
Exactly. Yeah, and what ends up happening over a long enough timeline, if you do what you're talking about, which is we all invest heavily in mutual aid, what you will have is eventually you'll inspire so many people to do stuff the same thing as you are, and you will end up with a voting block, something that you can use as leverage. Now, Ralph Nader wanted to basically, he knew he wasn't going to win, but what he wanted to do was inspire enough people, like 10 million people, that he could say, listen, none of us are ever going to vote for you guys again, and we have some demands. You will meet these demands, and if you do not, this voting block will never, ever vote for you, and you will lose every election for the rest of our lifetimes. So here's the deal. We're going to do our mutual aid and prove to everyone across the country that we are pure of heart and that we really want to help people, and we're going to show you by going onto the streets and doing it, but also doing our YouTube shows and stuff like that. But then eventually, if we had enough people following us, our followers would just if we told them, listen, we're not going to vote for a Democratic Party unless they say we're going to do X, Y, and Z that we named earlier. And then if we had enough people via the inspiration that we would get through all of that mutual aid, eventually we'd have a voting bloc big enough to cudgel the Democratic Party over the head with it. And that has to be, I think, the play. And even the idea of running a vanguard party, especially at first, before it could actually win, which might take decades, lifetimes. The first couple of elections, the point has to be just like, we're just going to run spoiler until you guys do what we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what? And this is one of the reasons why I love your concept of political fight club. Look, to Mike Figueredo, David Dole, Kyle Kalinske, Tim Black, all of you guys, that are basically on the TYT algorithm, help us. Let's drift away from that neoliberalism and what they're trying to push you towards, and come back over to the left side of the force. Look, what we're doing is, you guys have many more followers and subs. Imagine the masses of people that you guys can also help as well, while teaming up with us to push for direct action, mutual aid, and a general strike. We self correct out of love. That's how we do it. This isn't a hate thing. This isn't a disdain for you just because you guys got more subs or whatever. I don't give a fuck if you guys got more subs. In fact, if you guys got more subs and are doing the right thing, I am happy for you and I applaud you, and I would actually push more subs your way. But the thing is that the reason why Political Fight Club exists, and I think you'll agree with me, is that it's because this is a movement, a shift back towards the will of the people. You see? That's what it's always going to be about. It's the will of the people. And the thing is that now you guys seem to be going into a direction that is more the will of the elites. And when we see that, number one, it's disappointing. Nina, we're disappointed in you. Number two, when you do this, now you're losing touch. This is why you guys are losing a lot of subs now, because you're losing touch with the people. Number three, this is why you have a lot of us popping up now, because people need somebody to speak for them. And if you're no longer speaking for them, then somebody has to. This is why people like me and Rob and, Nick, Sabby, Afeni, Carrie, people like Jackson Hinkle and Franco and Unapologetic and all of us, this is why we're popping up now. Because we don't see anybody like us anymore. Because you guys have turned. And this is one of the reasons why we have shows like this. So, yeah, I mean, kind of thank you, but also kind of not thank you, because we want you to still be there so that we can also have that, that strength and that uplift to actually help people, not just politicians. Did I...
You're exactly right. And one of the rules of Political Fight Club, the last rule, there's 7 rules, is don't sell out. One of the reasons I started the show is I saw a lot of my favorite people who originally got me into politics, like Kyle Kalinske, David Dole, and Mike Figueredo, moving much more corporatist in their rhetoric. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? I think they just ran into money and they got a little bit more corrupted. But here's the thing. If we could all agree that we're not going to follow them down that path, from here on out, you will be ostracized if you start taking money and your rhetoric takes a right turn someplace along the way. We will kick you out. You're not allowed. That's against the rules. And here's the thing. It keeps you not corrupt in a weird way that, like, if I may use Fred Hampton Leftists as an example, if a couple of you guys ran into money and like started changing your rhetoric, that would never fly on the Fred Hampton Leftists for very long, because the rest of you guys would just dogpile that person and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, your rhetoric is suddenly so weird, man. So like the self-correcting mechanism that is us kind of teaming up and keeping eyes on each other is I'm trying to avoid letting people go down the road of Kyle Kulinski, because that is a very sad pattern that I'm seeing. And it really stinks, because they do have, between like Kulinski, Dole, Mike Figueredo, TYT, Sam Cedar, those guys all get, I mean, between 10 and 60,000 views per video, depending on the person. They've dropped, but they generally get a ton of views. They get 200,000 views per video if you add all of them together as an entity. I can't allow that. And eventually, well, here's what we're going to do. Eventually, these smaller channels, because we have a more dedicated fan base, because we're actually telling the truth, we will pass them. There will be more YouTube channels that pop up, and I'm trying to encourage that. And the ones that we have that are doing well are only going to grow. So like, if we wanted to aim for trying to surpass them in views, those 5, 200,000 views, luckily we got Jimmy, and he averages like 100,000 per video. And then the rest of us, you guys, the Vanguard, Franco, Jackson Hinkle, a lot of those channels are very, very small, and they put up numbers similar to somebody like Sam Cedar. So what that tells me is we're already gaining on them. It's just a matter of getting more people to do what we do, and to agree that we're not going to put up with corruption, and we're going to call you out if you do become corrupt and your rhetoric shows it. Now, I'm in Fight Club. I created it. I love going after these people. But like, I think it's Mufasa says to Simba, you don't want to go looking for trouble. I don't go looking for trouble ever. I don't go after people on anything I don't find extremely important. Mm-hmm. And when I go after them, like I did with the Vanguard's recent take on ivermectin, they were putting out false information. I have a medical background, and I was like, no. Ivermectin is actually not, just a bunch of, it's not horse paste. It's been used since the like late 60s, something like that. It's extremely safe. It's been used on billions of people. That episode's about trying to save people's lives by giving them good information while also savaging the Vanguard. And if they came out and said, sorry, guys, sorry, we were wrong, we apologize, not only would I be like, yeah, we're cool, but also their subs would be like, I appreciate the fact that you were actually able to change your mind depending on what other people in this lefty Twitter and YouTube verse critiqued you on. And that's the idea. And if we can do that, I of course go after TYT really badly, because I think are unsalvageable. But a lot of my videos on Kyle Kulinski right at the beginning, if you watch them, I'm pleading with him. I do insult him along the way, but mostly I'm making like the best arguments I can to try to get him to not go down that avenue. And unfortunately, I feel like it's too late now for Kyle. He's almost too far gone. But I really didn't go after him the same way I go after TYT. I mean, I make fun of Jank for horrible things. As you know, I make fun of Jank and Anna a lot, Vosh as well. But Kulinski, it's more like I'm just trying to critique him and give him a good reason to abandon what he's doing now and go back to the stuff that he was doing 2 years ago. That's all I'm asking. And if he could help us organize and give some shout outs and maybe platform us, that would be great too. But it's not necessary. I just don't want to see any more of us go to the dark side.
Yeah. And a lot of them, every single one of them would push back and say, we're absolutely not going to the dark side. We just believe that, electoral politics is the way to go. And that's when I would rebut and say, how's that working out for you?
Yeah, I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. They've done the Justice Democrats experiment, like 12 times now? How many justice, depending on who you consider a Justice Democrat, is between 6 and 13. So it's like we got 12 or 13 of your ideal candidates in there, and they're not doing anything. So you're literally insane by the definition of insane. The thing that you're trying to do is a plan that we already can see doesn't work. So just by, basic logic, let's try something else. And they're dying on that hill again, because a lot of their shows are predicated on squad good. Everything they do is saving us, and work backwards from that conclusion. Because a lot of these shows, they got popular having a lot of these people on, like AOC, Pramila Jayapal, Rashida Tlaib have been on a lot of these shows for interviews. So they're friends with them. their channels grew immensely because of those people going on their shows, so they're biased. Me,
Yeah.
I go after everybody equally. And that
Hmm.
includes Fred Hampton Leftists. You guys haven't ever done anything that I've disliked ever, but like if we ever did disagree, I would, let you guys know I don't hold favorites. I don't hold
Okay.
favorites. But here's the thing, man. If you guys do great work, nobody will shout you out more than me. I absolutely promote the living
Thank you.
shit out of people that do great work, and that's why I ranked you guys so high. And I love what you guys are doing at FHL. You guys are
Okay.
all political kung fu masters in my book.
Thank you so much. And look, here's the thing. This is the other side of political fight club that we want to talk about. When people do the right thing and say the right things and perform in the right way, yo, this is when we go, we're clapping for you. We're giving you your flowers. We're telling people to subscribe to you. Why? Because you're promoting the people. You're fighting for the people. Because we are the people. Look, I'm in a 14 by 12-foot bedroom. Uh, I have mismatched some furniture, and I don't really have much of anything. And I'm just a regular schlub sitting in his room on YouTube. There's nothing special about me. And these people who have much larger platforms, if they say the right, if they not only say the right things, but they demonstrate, that they're actually about it, then of course, like, duh, that's what we do. It's called positive reinforcement. I'm a firm believer in that. I will give you your flowers and then some if you do that. And I think, and that's one of the things I also appreciate about you, Rob, is that you're a brand new channel that's a smaller channel, but you speak as if you're as big as Jimmy Dore, and I love it because and you push people our way. And look, guys, if you guys are not subscribed to Robert Durden's channel, go in there. I already put the link to his channel in the description box, so you guys don't even have to look for it. And then follow him on Twitter too, because he has
I
great
really, I
things.
really appreciate that, man. Yeah, and I have zero qualms equalizing people. I also will give anybody props. If TYT came out and apologized for slandering Aaron Mate, I'd be the first one to make a video telling everybody about how I
Yeah.
appreciated that. And if you look back, I actually have numerous videos giving Kyle Kalinske a lot of credit, like when he went out and destroyed the hill after Crystal Ball
Hmm.
and Sagar left the hill.
Hmm.
He went out there and dropped like a really long video destroying them, and they lost 250,000 subs almost because of that video. I was singing his praises. I even made a video singing praises of Ryan Grimm back in the day. Now, I've made 5 other videos destroying Ryan Grimm, but there was a time where he went after or corrected Emily Jashinsky on the Hills Rising. And if you guys
Hmm.
remember, she was talking about how Americans ended World War II and how we freed everybody from Auschwitz, which of course is bullshit. It was actually the Russians who did that. And Ryan Grimm absolutely laid her out in that debate. And I made a huge video saying, Ryan Grimm, great job. He's clearly smarter than Emily Jashinsky and did a great job dismantling her. But then, like 3 days later, he decided to inject himself into the OPCW debate on Twitter, which he knows nothing about. So I had to destroy him 2 days later. So the thing is, I'm more than willing to give credit where credit is due. But a lot of these people just the content they're putting out just doesn't deserve any credit, and some of it's so bad that I have no choice but to go out and correct it. Like I said, that Vanguard video, I had no choice. I love the Vanguard. I don't think they're sold out at all. I just think they're misinformed on COVID treatments, and they don't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to talking about that stuff. And they have a big enough subscriber base where I'm like, you're putting a lot of misinformation out to people right now. I have no choice but to correct the record, so I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, you cover, the news especially well. And I just want to thank you for that. Like we were talking earlier about the unfortunate strike on 10 people in Afghanistan. 7 of the 10 people that were killed were, I think, under the age of 5. And it was, Joe Biden's to blame, of course. War criminal extraordinaire. And they were all civilian. in
Yeah.
Kabul.
And the
It was in Kabul, I
original,
think.
yeah. Yes, it was. Yep. It was a Toyota Corolla that they did a drone strike on. The driver of the Corolla they followed around for the day, and they assumed he was, or allegedly, he was part of ISIS-K. Now, recent reporting by the New York Times, actually, when they actually did some investigative journalism for once, found out that he was actually a humanitarian. And the stuff that they saw being packed into the car, which they alleged were explosives, were just big bottles of water, is all they were. So the original narrative after they drone striked that Corolla, killing 7 children, you were exactly right, 10 civilians, is, oh, well, we might have killed 3 civilians, and it was because of secondary explosions. Okay, so explosions that happened after the drone strike itself. Now, as it turns out, everything about that narrative is bullshit. All 10 of them were civilians, including the person that they alleged was the terrorist, as far as we know. But also, there were no secondary explosions. Or the experts that they had look at the film and the pictures of the explosion site say that there was only one strike. It hit the car, and there was evidence only of one shockwave because the gate to his driveway was only bent in one way, which means the explosion just happened from one direction. So everything about the original narrative is bogus. And here's the thing. They just recently, very, very quietly, the Pentagon just came out and said, whoopsie, yeah, we just killed 10 civilians. That's a terrorist act, by the way. Terrorist act. We just killed 10 civilians, and we didn't have sufficient evidence to actually go after this guy because, as it turns out, there was no imminent attack from ISIS-K. And in fact, the safe house that they thought was like the ISIS-K safe house, they alleged that he was at that house. It wasn't the same address. It was down the street. So they had no evidence whatsoever that this guy was legitimately linked to ISIS-K. All they saw was the drone video footage of him and a couple other people putting things into the cars, which, as it turns out, were bottles of water. And 2 of them, the people that he was actually driving to work, they had packages or satchels at their side, but they didn't see anything that was in them, and they just assumed that there were explosives in them. There was not. So what ended up happening is the narrative eventually went from the extremely pro imperialism narrative that we always run with. It was 100% lies, and now it was so blatant that even the Pentagon is admitting, yeah, shit, we fucked up. We killed 10 civilians and we didn't have any evidence. And, all of that stuff that we said to you a week ago was complete bullshit. It was all a lie. So
Okay.
it's a war crime. And it's
Wow.
breaks my heart because the description of what happened to those people, there were, children blown to pieces. It's disgusting.
Anybody right now that is still saying, "Oh, but we pulled out of Afghanistan," bullshit. Bullshit. We're not out of Afghanistan. We
Yeah, we
killed
pulled
10.
public troops out is all we did. And
Yeah.
they're going to keep CIA ops, which we'll never know exactly the extent to which they are embedded in Afghanistan. And even Joe Biden said publicly that we're going to keep doing drone strikes in Afghanistan, which, because of whistleblower Daniel Hale, as you know, we now know that 90% of our casualties with our drone strikes are civilians. So, yeah, are we taking ground troops out of there? Yeah, sure. But if we up the drone strikes, the outcome is still a whole bunch of civilian casualties in a country we should never be in.
Yeah.
So I fail to see how that's in any way better.
Boots on the ground or drones in the air. What's the difference?
Right.
There's
If the end result is still dead kids and civilians, who gives a shit? It's
exactly.
horrible. So it's like, and Kyle Kalinske has been hook, line, and sinker, just bending over backwards to defend Biden on the Afghan withdrawal, and it's insufferable to see because, like I said, a year ago he would be going, okay, tacit credit for getting those publicly funded troops out of there, but what about all the black ops and what about all the drone strikes that you're going to continue to do? And also, might I add, the Pentagon just got $25 billion extra dollars given to them by the Senate for military spending. You don't increase your military spending $25 billion to pull out of a war permanently, especially if you don't also have like aspirations across the globe to invade other countries, which we imagine probably will be like Somalia, Syria, and we have to be hyper vigilant to make sure that he does not do that. So, I gave tacit credit for getting out of the Afghanistan war. but I'm not giving them the credit that Kyle Kalinski's given them, because of course they're still drone striking Afghanistan, and mark my words, pretty soon here we're going to be in Somalia and Syria. We're already in actually both those countries, but it's going to get escalated in those countries. You don't up your military budget by that amount of money to just become less imperialist. Doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. No. And this is one of the reasons why those of us, because you have some people who are saying that they're anti-war. Anti-war and anti-imperialist are two different things. Okay. Tulsi Gabbard is anti-war, but is she anti-imperialist? You know what I mean? Um, I want to also, end all the sanctions that we have that are killing people left and right. Just
Exactly.
because we don't have a drone strike killing them doesn't mean that the sanctions aren't killing them either. And why is the United States killing all these people in these other countries? It's not because they have evil dictators that are taking over their country. No, we already have that here. We already have dictatorships in the United States. Guess what? Look at what we have now. It's because they have something that the United States wants. It's called resources, people. And so whenever the United States sees something that you have, then guess what? They're just like the movie, they're takers. And so they just take their shit and they bomb them for it or kill them with sanctions just so that they can have their shit. And that's what the United States has been doing for well over 100 years. And so those of us who are anti-imperialists do not like that and we do not support it. So therefore, this is one of the reasons why we're the ones who are saying that we're not out of Afghanistan, because they still want that opium and that from the poppy fields, and they still want that oil, and we're not
Yep.
down with that shit.
Yep, and mineral wealth. There's a lot of mineral wealth in Afghanistan, and of course, it's in Syria. It's natural gas and wheat. Iraq, it's
Yeah.
oil.
Hmm.
If you've got a resource that the United States, as a capitalist system, desires, they will literally, propagandize their people and manufacture consent for a war to go in there and just steal it. And that's, we've been doing that, like you said, for century. That's just the
Hmm.
CIA playbook. You have something that we need, we're not going to ask you for it. We're not going to trade with you for it. We're just going to come in and tell our people that we needed to invade your country for some reason. And we'll manufacture that consent however we need to.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, are the U.S. trafficking opium? No, the U.S. is actually taking the opium from Afghanistan, and guess what? The opiums are used in our medications for opiates here in the United
Yep.
States for extremely cheap price, and then they sell it back to us for an obscene amount of money just so that they can make more profits. So it's really driven by the corporations. Yeah,
Yeah, big pharma is the main reason. More than likely, they lobby to go into countries like that so that we can have as much opioids as they can sell. And
yeah,
of course, the
yeah,
opioid epidemic is out of control in this
yeah,
country. Out of
yeah.
control.
And look at
Inci-
what Elon Musk did with Bolivia. Elon Musk wanted them to do a coup in Bolivia because they have a lot of lithium.
Right, for batteries. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly right. And he even said, he's like, I think, I forget if it was on Twitter or not, but his
it was
response
on
to that
Twitter.
when asked about it was, yeah, his response was like, we'll do a coup wherever we deem well we want
Yeah,
to. Like, we'll go
yeah,
do a coup wherever we want to. We're America. We have tons of money. I don't give a shit about overthrowing a government if it means my bottom line can be padded.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, thanks for that question. But yeah, United States, yeah, they're killing innocent people for the opium. Yeah, I'm probably demonetized right now for saying all this stuff, by the way. So if you guys got a couple super chats, then that'd be cool. Um, yeah, because here's the thing. Um, we're not just on YouTube, we're on other places like Rockfin, and we're expanding because we know that what we're saying right here doesn't sit well with a lot of these big, huge companies, especially in big tech. And so because of that, then they may end up kicking us off. So that's one of the reasons why we are expanding. And like I said to you, Rob, earlier before we went on stream, I can't wait to get on Rockfin and other different platforms too, so you can expand as well. Because you know we gotta we gotta expand our bullhorn, so to speak, so that we can continue to keep speaking for the people.
Yep, and I will be on Rockfin eventually. I see the writing on the wall with YouTube. The issue is that you can't really just start start on Rockfin. You got to get some subs on YouTube first, and then once people kind of know what you are, it's easier to transition. So, but that's always
Yeah.
been part of my playbook. I will eventually be on multiple other sites, maybe even Twitch as well.
Carrie, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for monetizing us. And I know it's about close to your cutoff time. Where can they? Are you able to stay for a little bit longer, or do you need to go?
I can stay a little bit longer if you. Yeah, I don't think my daughter's awake yet. We had a very late night last night. It was a really weird day, but she's not up yet. But yeah, I can stay about 10, 15 minutes if you want.
Sounds like you guys were partying with sippy cups and animal crackers last night.
Yes, we will. We were watching one of my daughter's 4. I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but she loves Mad Max Fury Road. So last night we were watching Mad Max Fury Road, and she just having her yogurt and her crackers and everything, and I'm sitting having a vodka, and we had a great time. But it was a late day because my wife and I had an art show out of town yesterday, and we didn't get back until late, and we've been just cooking in the sun all day. It was unbearable. So my daughter's just all tuckered out. Same with my wife, so they're sleeping in today.
That's cool. That's cool. Now I'm kind of curious about what kind of yogurt she had. Was she had one of those like really good like strawberry yogurts or something like
Yep,
that?
strawberry banana. That's the only kind she'll eat, but she will eat those in
Oh,
enormous quantities. Yeah. Yep.
oh, a lady after my own heart.
Yep.
Now when now I need to have kids. Uh,
It's a lot of work, but it is ultimately fulfilling.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, Sabby, sippy cup party, absolutely.
Yep.
Pour a little gin and tonic in that sippy cup and party on.
Oh, I was having a
Uh,
great time. I was having a great time.
nice. But one of the things that actually, since you brought, you have your daughter up, you have a child. How how does that square with you at seeing how our system as twisted and as corrupt as it is? What type of feelings does that put within you when you look at your own child?
It makes me want to fight all the harder on things, especially like healthcare, climate change. I want to create a world that is better than the world that I'm growing up in for my daughter. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but you have to keep fighting anyway. And it lights a fire under my ass, that's for sure. Um, it also makes me teach her certain things, and empathy, caring about your fellow man, selflessness,
Yeah.
caring about others. And, in my ideology, I'm kind of like a Marxist communist.
Mhm.
I aspire to, in the end, pure communism, not like
Mhm.
4-letter word communism, like a lot of these people say, like Russia or China, like real communism.
Oh,
And the tenets of that are trying to take care of your fellow man.
yeah.
And since we don't have any money, it's easier for me to show her that it's okay to not have a whole bunch of material wealth. You can still be very, very valuable. And in the
Yeah.
end, if you don't have a lot of money and you kind of come up in a system that is inherently traumatic, you can grow through that. You become stronger the more you have to deal with a system that makes you downtrodden all the time. And that's no
Mhm.
reason to give up.
Mhm.
That's a reason to grow. Only through conflict will we evolve. So I try to make it as easy as I can on her, but her lifestyle is very, I would say, meager.
Mhm.
I try my best to not spoil her. And I also do my best to make sure she understands the evils of capitalism, which she's
Mhm.
not old enough to understand that yet, but she hears daddy walking around the house bitching about it all the time. So I imagine that she eventually will pick up what I'm laying down and understand that money is the root of all evil. It makes you
Mhm.
greedy and it infiltrates everything. So the best thing you can do if you want to be a selfless person that fights against the evils of capitalism is just to kind of reject money. As Tyler Durden says, reject your material possessions and you will not be corruptible, and you will be, in my opinion, that's the way we need to go forward. So that's the way I bring it up with her. She's only 4 years old right now, but she hears me talking on my show. Sometimes she's off to the side when I'm doing my show, and I just do my best to make sure that she cares about others. Cares
Yeah.
about others enough to fight for them.
Let me ask let me ask you this question. As far as your political evolution over the years, as you've moved further left, have you noticed different changes in your own personal character? And if so, what were they?
I don't think I've noticed a lot of changes in my personal character. I think that I just have moved left the more that I educate myself on the tenets of Marxism.
Hmm.
And if you want to get really technical, I'm Leninist kind of right now, which is, as I was saying earlier, it's like a lot of unionization and building like communes and building community, but then using that community to drive a vanguard party through the electoral process. But here's the thing, I imagine that the farther that we go into the future without getting any results through electoral politics, I will probably drop that and move to more like anarcho-leftism. And I think most people will also go that way because the longer we stay in our current paradigm where it seems impossible to get anything done via elections, the
Hmm.
more people will turn away from the idea of any type of party,
Hmm.
and they will move towards more like libertarian left anarcho leftism, which means that's Tyler Durden. That's the actual like political fight club where it's like no, we have to do this ourselves literally by uniting and scaring the living shit out of, or maybe even destroying the duopoly. So
Hmm.
I used to be social democrat about 2 years ago, and then I moved to more like a democratic socialist, which
Hmm.
is that's less regulation on like social democrats try to regulate capitalism, regulate
Hmm.
big corporations. Then I went to democratic socialism, which is more like no, we have to destroy and break up those corporations, don't regulate them, and more of a centralized government that regulates them. Okay, and then I went even further now, where I'm like, I'm to the point where I'm like, the last ditch effort has to be, we have to get a third party that goes and destroys the duopoly via a
Hmm.
groundswell of community, people that are inspired. But the thing is, if that doesn't work, if that play does not work, if the capitalist system is too good at diffusing that type of thing, my next evolutionary step would likely be
Hmm.
libertarian left anarcho leftism. So
Hmm.
we'll just have to see. I change depending on the situation, and I also, as I become more educated, I tend to be more left. But I was always kind of I try to be an empathetic, altruism based guy anyway, and I felt like that when I was a social democrat as well.
Yeah.
The difference between then and now is that I've been shown the futility of trying to
Hmm.
regulate capitalism via putting people like the squad in government and having them write regulations on corporations. Doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of what you said rings true for me. As far as my evolution goes, I got to a point where I, as further left I went, the more whenever I see a worker, I feel like I feel like workers are now the apple of my eye. Is
They're
weird.
brothers.
Yeah, and it's like whenever I go to a place and I see a worker now, it's almost like you know, like that meme, like that GIF is like, like a nod, like, yeah, I see you, brother, I see you, and so it's kind of like that, and I've noticed that even when dealing with people in whether it's customer service or food service or whatever, I feel like it's my obligation to make their day better or to make it so that it's a little bit brighter because I know what they're going through. I've been there. I was there. Um, and so I feel that solidarity because they're not being treated right because they don't own the means of production and they don't have a say in how their workplace operates. They have customers who honestly feel like that they are the kings and queens of the world. And it's just like, yeah, no, you're not. You're just a customer and you're not always right. And so it's with all these different things, it, moving further to the left is just like I just want so much better for them. I want so much better for us. And I don't have kids, I have nieces and nephews, but I look at them the same way that you look at your daughter, is to instill into them love for humanity. That's it, and that's all. Love for humanity and all the other beings that are around you. You know, taking care of the animals and the plants and all the creepy little things to the big, huge things that keep this world running. Um, and I think that's one of the reasons why that being on the left jives with me so well, because I see us all as connected in some way, shape, or form. And if we don't provide for one another, then eventually it's going to lead to our downfall.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I've said it before. I don't think you can become a leftist unless you're a humanist first. I think that you naturally gravitate towards more Marxism and communism the more you care about everyone else. And it's converse for going right. A lot of that is individualism. The
Hmm.
more right you go, it's based on competition, destroying everybody that isn't you. And I don't believe in that. And of course, it sounds weird coming from Robert Durden, right? Someone who loves everybody is the same guy who's insulting the living shit out of people on the daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those are the people standing in the way of the liberation of the people that I love. If I care so much about people that I'm actually willing to come out here and savage someone like Kyle Kalinske, who's one of my heroes, I think that's a testament to how much I do care about others, because the ideas that they're pushing and the strategy that these people are pushing is not going to help the people that I love. So
Yeah.
I have no other choice but to get mean. And of course, I don't go after them personally. I don't want to make them cry. I mean, I kind of want to make Emma Vigeland cry a little bit, but generally, I don't want to make people cry. What I'm trying to do is like get their attention and try to correct them, try to get them to self-correct and do some
Yeah.
introspection and try to do things that are actually for the people. And what they're doing right now, I don't see that as being terribly for the people. I think it's Kyle Kalinske and those guys are doing a lot for themselves nowadays.
Yeah. 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 I
I
I've
like that.
I've
I like that super chat just now. Zero sum game versus positive sum game. Yeah, it's
yeah.
actually that's the difference between what I believe is the world should not be a zero sum game or what's called a finite game. It should be
Hmm.
what's called an infinite game. Finite games are that there's an end goal and it's an ideology that states that you must do what you can to accumulate as much resources and try to win the game. The point of the game is to win the game and there's an end. What an infinite game is, and that's what I believe this is, and most other countries understand this, Americans do not. They don't get this. The point of the game should be to improving the game so that it's so good that we all want to play it forever. So the idea is not to compete and to destroy your other fellow humans, it's to make fellow humans do well in any way that you can so that it improves the game so that there doesn't have to be an end. We can just keep playing together in harmony. So a lot of people in America, they see everything as like an infinite game, zero sum. I do not see it that way. I'd rather see an infinite game where we can improve everybody's well-being to the point where we like playing it and we don't have to end it. It's just meant to keep going and improving itself. So I like
Right.
that super chat that I just saw. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. And it was wonderful because I like the way you said that it's something that people want to keep doing. Um, if you make, because a lot of times we talk about fairness a lot. We may not say the word fairness, but we talk about it a lot. And a lot of times people, especially a lot of people who are conservative, will say, "Well, life's not fair," and it's like, "Well, why is life not fair?"
Yeah, who
Um,
says?
yeah, it's like, why don't we make it more fair? Why don't we, as a society, just do that?
Yeah,
What's to
right.
stop us from doing that? Right?
Yeah, there isn't anything. And truly, if you want to talk about true communism, that's exactly the end goal. Is it's not true fairness in that like what they'll use as the talking point, where like everybody gets paid the same. No, no, no. The idea is that we become so empathetic that true communism, it can't be achieved, but you would actually have an elimination of currency and elimination of the state, where we would actually help each other so much that as a system, just like neighborhood by neighborhood, we'd be taking care of our neighbors truly because we care about them. And that would eliminate a lot of the scarcity, the unfairness, which scarcity is bullshit. That's a fairy tale, and it would eliminate a lot of the unfairness that is baked into the cake of capitalism.
Mhm. Well,
So, and that's, you want the most fair or the least draconian and inhuman system, you move farther left.
but that would mean that we should treat every human around the world like we're all family.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. And I see no problem with that whatsoever. If capitalists' idea is everybody's your enemy and you got to outcompete your neighbors, and our idea is no, 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 we're all going to help our neighbors and then we can be prosperous together, that's an easy choice.
Yeah. And the thing is that this type of thought makes it so that you see me as a black man. You acknowledge that I'm a black man, but you love me because I'm your brother. You see what I
Yeah,
mean?
you're just another human.
Yeah. And so, you know, we get to a point where, like, you see a woman and you think to yourself, that's my sister, or that's my auntie, or that's my cousin, or that's my mom, even if you never met them before in your life. And like you said about loving humanity, that's where it starts. Because then once you do that, then you start to get to a point where you start to see capitalism as an entity that's literally killing your family, and
Yep.
you won't stand for it.
Yeah, rule number 3 of Political Fight Club is know your opponent. And
Hmm.
that is both in a debate, like know who you're talking to, but it's really meant to be more like an overarching blanket statement in know what parts of the system you need to destroy.
Hmm.
So my opponents are capitalism and imperialism,
Hmm.
and I know them very well. I study them so that I can diffuse them, so that I can destroy them. So you're exactly right. I do care about everybody, and the reason that I want to destroy capitalism is because I see too many of my brothers and sisters, my fellow humans across the globe, being destroyed by the arms of capitalism and imperialism. So I
Hmm.
study capitalism to destroy it. I think Marx did something very similar because that's all Marxism is. All Marxism is a critique of capitalism. That's all, and that's what brought me to my current ideology. I dislike capitalism to its core, and I will fight my entire life to keep it from destroying the people that I care about.
Rob Buechner, everybody. I just want to thank you so much for being on today. Wow, you're brilliant.
Hey, dude, thank you
um,
for having me. I've been looking forward to this. I'm super excited. I will be on RJ's show too pretty soon. I don't know if he told you. I'm looking forward to that too. I can't thank you
oh,
guys enough for platforming me. And if you guys
yeah,
keep putting up the numbers and keep putting up great content, you know I'm going to be boosting you on my channel as well.
yeah, definitely. And you're going on with RJ is a real treat because look, he may be young, but you learn some stuff from him. And
Oh yeah.
oh, trust me. Anybody, look out for Rob to be on revolutionary jargon with, and having this discussion because it's about to get deep. It's about to get deep. So
Oh, we're gonna have a
I
lot of
can't.
fun.
Oh, it's gonna be great. So I can't wait for that. And where can they find you?
You can look me up on YouTube, Robert Durden, just the way that it's displayed here. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Rob_Buechner, B as in boy, Uechner. And that's basically all I do. I'm on Twitter a lot. I'm on YouTube a lot. And I would appreciate the follow and the sub, guys. This is kind of what I do on my show. I get very, very mean to politicians. If you like me making fun of, lefty YouTubers that are doing bad stuff or politicians, that's come and give me a sub. I won't let you down.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, he's. I think you're about at 1,500 subs right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
1.7 ish. Yeah,
yeah. Let's try to get him to 2,500 before the month's out. Let's try to do that. All
that would
right.
be
If you guys
cool.
aren't subbed
I'd
to
much
him,
appreciate it.
then subscribe to him. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real privilege, and I'll see you on the interwebs.
Definitely. The pleasure's all mine. I love you, JB. Keep fighting the good fight out there, buddy. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. All right. Take care. So, um, that was awesome. I've been awaiting that for quite some time. And one of the things that we as leftists have to do now is we gotta not only hold each other accountable, but also hold each other up. I think Rob is a great example of that, of holding people up, especially when we try to do the right thing, and it's not hard to do. It's just when we listen to each other. Now, this has to be out of love and not malice. Yes, we'll clown on people for doing bad takes and making bad decisions, but ultimately, if we actually hated them, we wouldn't be fighting for a lot of these universal programs that would help them all. We would say, yeah, Medicare for all, except for TYT, but we're not saying that. We want them to have all the dignity and all the compassion that a person that should have. And this is one of the reasons why we push for these things, not just for our sake, but for them too. Because even if they're wrong, they're still human. They're still part of the human family, And though this is why, you know, I also stand in solidarity with not just my leftists here in the United States, but my fellow leftists around the world. Whether they can be a leftist in Bulgaria, or they can be a leftist in Uganda. We still stand all together, and so this is one of the reasons why we do what we do. And I also want to say this: if you're watching me right now, and if you're thinking about either getting a YouTube channel and talking about leftist ideals and solutions, or you're thinking about having just a podcast, whether you go on Anchor or some other platform, do it. Please. Let's fill the airwaves. Come in, and we will notice you, and we will platform each other. We will, like we do, cross pollinate, because we on the left, we're about cooperation and collaboration. We're not about competition, right? And the only reason why that we would need to say something and correcting you is because you need to be corrected. But if you're doing great work as far as what, actual leftism is, then we got to shout you out. We got to give you your flowers. We got to tell people about you because you're doing great work. And this is one of the reasons why that we need more of you to come into the space. Don't let us be by ourselves. Mm-mm. No. Especially those of you that we don't see that much of. Especially, we want to see more women on the left. Ladies, cis and trans, get your ass over here and get in these spaces and start talking, please, because you also have answers, solution, news, and commentary to give, and we love to hear it from you. To my Asian brothers, sisters, and non-binary, all y'all need to come up in here too, because we don't see enough of you. We want you guys here. You're our brothers and sisters too. Come on in. The water's fine. Okay. Once you get these, if you can get yourself some decent internet, a webcam, and a ring light, you're off to the races. Even if you don't want to be on camera, okay, great. Speak your truth on a podcast. Okay. To my Latino brothers and sisters, those of you, especially in countries where the United States has ravaged your country, number one, as an American, as a United States citizen, I should say, I do apologize for what my country's done. to everyone around the world. I apologize for my country's done, but we also need you, and not just in English speaking spaces. Those of you are in foreign language, speak your language in the United States, especially, and talk about these leftist issues. Because look, leftism isn't just one language. It's it goes across, and I want all of us to be speaking. Um, and now to the family, black brothers and sisters, and non-binary. Why is it just a handful of us right now? That don't make no sense. Y'all know, all right? I want to see more of us as well. And if you can, you don't have to be a part of Fred Hampton Leftists. You can create your own network, your own space, and come out and start talking about these leftist issues. We black people have a rich history of leftists in our veins, in our history. Go back to the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, and look at our history. We're rich with it. And if you're going to continue that, come on in. Come on in. I got open arms for you. And to the white allies, the ones who are anti-racist, the ones who are anti-imperialist, the ones who are anti-capitalists, we see you and we appreciate everything you do. We see that you guys are calling out racism and also correcting different people who maybe have problematic views. We see that and we thank you for that too. And we see in your eyes that you see us as family, and we see you as family too. And as long as you love humanity, like Rob and I were saying, that's the basis of it. That's the base. Just love humanity and you can grow from there. And yeah, humans do some shitty things. I mean, look, 10 people dead in Afghanistan. Look at what's going on in places like Nicaragua and Honduras. And look at what's going on in places like Somalia and, Afghanistan, Iraq. Look at what we're doing in, all these different places. Well, the country is doing in our name. It's terrible. But we have to be the counterbalance of that. We have to make it so that it ceases to exist. And the only way we can do that is by starting at where we're standing. Got a neighbor? Let them know you care. Got a family member you haven't talked to for a while? Maybe give them a call. See how they're doing. Be an example as far as your leftist values are concerned. It's difficult and it's easier said than done, but it definitely can be done. But yeah, we do the best that we can with what we got. And political fight club isn't necessary fighting isn't to fight against you, it's to fight for you and with you so that we all have something better. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming in for this chat. This was a wonderful chat with Rob Buechner. Be sure to give him a follow on his channel. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I would love to give every single one of you guys a hug. Um, I'm gonna take a shower before that because I want to make sure that I'm fresh when I give you guys a hug. So I smell like fabric softener. That's the good stuff. But be sure to tune in to the roundtable this Thursday for Fred Hampton Leftist. I'm not sure if anything's going on tonight with anybody else, but stay tuned because we always have more things going on in Fred Hampton Leftist. And anybody who I may have missed out in shouting out today, I do apologize. Thank you so much for all the super chats. Thank you for everybody who's watching and giving us a listen. We couldn't have done this without you. Thank you for getting us to over 10,000 subs. That was amazing. I also apologize for anything I said under the influence of edibles that night. I apologize, But um, look, if you find someone who loves humanity and they may have some takes that are wrong, be kind in your corrections and bring them in and show them that there are many others that are just like them, that are truly deeply invested in human beings and taking care of the world. And yeah, that's basically all I got to say today. This was a great show, and you guys made it great. And so I just wanted to take care to let you guys know that I want you to take care. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you in the next one.